Hello, my name is Brent Frayne at $250 for you, but no $250 for you. Please stay tuned as the show starts now. Hello, thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. I'm the host, and we're going to be talking about $250. $250 not for you, right? So what does that mean? Not for you, but maybe for some, but not for you, not for PWD, not for Canadians with disabilities or seniors or anybody on a fixed income. I mean, wow. Of course, there's veterans. I mean, we can't forget about the veterans because the veterans are the ones who built this country for what we have
Yeah,
now. And
yeah.
to me, it's a total gut punch. It's total disrespect, really total disrespect that some people were left behind, as other ones included. If you're making up to $150,000, you get $250 check. I think it's just a vote buying little scheme, and it's going to backfire. Why? Because really, like, if you're going to divide population against population, some for you, some for you, no soup for you, no 250 for you, no coffee for you. I mean, come on. Like, today I have MJ Phillips joining me. MJ has been a long time panel on the show, and I've had MJ on from time to time as a guest, and MJ's on again today. We're gonna be piling in. Also, just so the viewers and listeners are listening on the podcast version, I have Neil Matheson, who is my editor producer, who's always on the show with me. And thank you very much, Neil, for making everything happen behind the scenes.
And
Uh,
and I'm so good. I'm so good that we thought we were live for 15 minutes and we weren't.
oh, oops.
So that's how good of a producer I am.
Technical little glitches do happen.
Everybody makes mistakes, you know?
It was
I
all about the
mean,
250. It was all about the 250. It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
All the
oh,
excitement.
we were so excited about thought we were thinking maybe we were going to get something out of this. And it was like, and then when we realized it just didn't work, we also realized we weren't live. I'm just kidding.
That's like the CDB, right? We get our hopes up and go, oh, we're all gonna get the 250 and we're gonna get the CDB, but
And we're going to
So
get this and we're going to get that. And it
so
never
we had
materializes.
we had 15 minutes of practice
yes,
and now we're doing it for real. Do you want to go to the screen share again and just quickly go through the list?
sure.
I'll bring up the screen share. And let me have to go to here, so I'll go up the
Well, and
list
while
here.
Neil's bringing up the screen share, I'll just gonna give everybody just an overview. So the federal government announced just recently in the new year that over 13 million or 18 million people, I believe it is 18 million people are going to get $250 hard cash. I mean, $250. It just came right off the printing presses and it's going to get deposited into your bank account only if you are a working aged individual in Canada. The keyword working age, right?
Yeah.
You're not working, you don't get the money, right? So now you look at the today's show is not going to be focused on the Canada Disability Benefit. There'll be another show because we've talked a lot about that, and it's still an ongoing saga. But if you put things in perspective, now the Canada Disability Benefit, right? We've been waiting almost 5 years, 4.5 years. It's going to go in 5 years in the new year. So we're still waiting on that, all the regulations to get redone, and people still are not going to qualify for that. The Canadians with disabilities, but right now, $250, they don't qualify for the $250. Now, wouldn't that be something if we qualify and Justin Trudeau decides, you know what, I screwed up. I screwed up because you know what, I want to include Canadians with disabilities and seniors and make sure everybody's not going to be left behind. Well, if he does that, people are going to say, well, what about the Canada Disability Benefit? How come you haven't fixed that?
Yeah.
Why haven't you done that? I can see where that's going to go. And I'll give it
Yeah,
on that.
and I mean, just the other day, again, we don't have the video posted here, but just the other day, Justin Trudeau was on video. Somebody asked him, a reporter asked him, why aren't you giving the $250 to seniors or people with disabilities?
Mm-hmm.
And his answer was, well, I want to give a tax break to those hardworking Canadians that are contributing to the economy. So it really is a slap on the face. You're basically saying that if you're disabled, you're not hardworking, you don't contribute to the economy, you basically have no value, no worth whatsoever.
Mhm, mhm.
But I mean, like we eat food too,
Yes.
you know,
There was
and
there was a
and
talk show
we pay taxes too.
there was a talk show this morning on our local radio station on CKNW in Vancouver. It was it's always broadcasted every day, and the host of the show, thank you so much, Mike, for doing the coverage on that. Greatly appreciated. And because he covered about the same topic we're talking about now is the $250, like seniors, people with disabilities. Why are they not getting that? So I had the opportunity of calling in to the show. I asked people to call in, and so I quickly called in, and I was just a little click on there, and I got in, and then of course we have the chief bureau of the Legislative Assembly in British Columbia and Victoria. Keith Baldry was on. They had the same topic again. Tell people to call in. I didn't call in again because I had already called in, but again, people with disabilities. They were really talking a lot about people with disabilities and seniors. And I thank the media for doing that because the media really needs to talk more about Canadians with disabilities. I mean, we are citizens. I mean, a lot of us have either worked or maybe they are working part-time or full-time if they can. If not, I mean, they have worked or they've contributed into society, which every time you go to the grocery store, you're still contributing into society. Whatever you pay your bills, you're paying tax. So we are taxpayers. And so the myth that always is that, well, what do you do? What do you do for a living?
Well,
I'm disabled.
I mean, exactly. And this is the thing. We pay our power bill. That puts food on the table for somebody else that works in the business of keeping our power and lights turned on.
Yep.
So we're contributing to somebody else's life,
Exactly.
right? When we pay these bills, same water, sewer, etc. We contribute to this. We're still contributors to society. We might not be as contributing as much as everyone else, but we do contribute, right? And this is the problem of this discrimination is really what it is. It's very discriminatory to go and exclude people in specific violation of Section 15.1, by the way, of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Now,
that's always bugged me, is that you have that. I mean, that's always been a calling card for me whenever I bring that up in emails. You hit the nail on the head there, MJ. Is that, I mean, you have that clause there, but it's not enforced.
Yeah.
It's completely useless. It's like you might as well have it written on a piece of paper on the bottom of a bird cage because it's not got no teeth.
No, and this the thing is they say, well, we'll make a program, and it's like every time they make a program, it turns out to be what? More nonsense, more hoops, more jumping through,
I was wondering
this or that.
what kind of napkin did they use? Did they use this one? I mean,
Yeah.
What side did they write the notes on here? Exclude disabled seniors. There we are. Press done.
Yeah. And I mean, when we thought we were alive 15 minutes ago, we were talking about the bad idea hat, that the government seems to like to use this bad idea hat all the time. They pull ideas from this bad idea hat, and I mean, Trudeau has hit a home run here. It's like, you know, let's see what bad idea I can pull out now. It's like, okay, I'll give tax breaks to everybody except the most vulnerable. That's a great idea. Great idea. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder who the mastermind was behind that one. I mean, did they dress up as a Grinch or something? I mean, right? Like,
well, that's the thing is why is it that at every turn, every idea we see that comes out of our government always excludes veterans, seniors, and disabled? It seems it's a pattern of behavior that they seem to think, oh, well, you know why? It's because seniors don't have the money to band together disabled don't have the money to band together, and
Yeah.
veterans don't have the money to band together to take the government to court.
Mhm.
That's why. That's why they seem to figure that they should be able to go and take advantage, because we have
Yeah.
no means to fight back legally in their system.
I always think of Dana Carvey church chat. How convenient. How
Yes,
convenient.
Mhm. Exactly.
You
yes.
know?
So you're saying there's still that chance. There's still that chance that they might change it.
Yeah.
Interesting little quote earlier. I was reading out one of the reporters, I guess, in Ottawa, had said that the leader for the NDP, the federal NDP, say that ask about the $250 check. Apparently, yeah, I mean, there might be a little bit of movement there, but I guess we'll have to see if that's going to be a voting issue. I'm going to be quite tuned in on this issue because is it going to be the Conservatives are going to vote against it? Is the NDP going to vote against that, or are they going to put a clause in place saying you need to include people with disabilities and seniors
Yeah.
and anybody on a fixed income, or are they just going to let it slide and let it go through the way it's going to go through?
We didn't
Well,
actually go through the screen share yet, Brent. Let's do it
Yeah.
again quickly. We did
Okay.
it the first time. We're doing it again. Second go around. So let me bring up the screen here. I just wanted to quickly go through. So you can see there's a real emphasis on children's. It's everything's almost is all children, right? So if you have a child or children, great. There's children's clothing is tax exempt. You've got children's footwear, children's diapers, car seats. You've got printed newspapers, printed books, magazines, and you've got Christmas trees.
Oh
Whether
boy.
they're live or artificial doesn't matter. You've got alcoholic beverages,
Oh.
ciders, carbonated beverages, candies.
Is
Uh,
there bubble gum on there?
candies, chocolate, popcorn, chips,
Junk food.
granola bars, juice bars, ice cream, ice milk sherbet, yogurt, pudding. There's cakes, muffins, pies, pastries, tarts, cookies, donuts, brownies, croissants. So you can really see there's there's a real emphasis on junk food, right? And then right at the bottom of the list, this is kind of hilarious. They've got they say children's toys. So again, if you have children, great. Children's toys is exempt, and if you can afford a $600 gaming video game console, that's going to be exempt as well. So
Oh wow. I mean,
everybody that can afford a $600 gaming console on PWD income assistance, have at it. You know,
yeah,
so.
Neil, is there bubble gum on there? I can chew bubble gum
I think it's there actually.
at the
Yeah,
same time. Yeah.
I think it's there. Anyway, that's a quick run through of everything on the list there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an interesting list for sure.
well, and if I don't mind repeating myself for the second time, when you take a look at the products that they have here, they're all junk food. They're all
Mhm.
unhealthy items.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of a healthcare and obesity epidemic in this country because you can see it out there. People are eating junk food because it's cheaper, and
Mhm.
now you're just making it even cheaper. Instead of going and figuring out a way to go and make dairy, meat, vegetables, fruits cheaper. I mean, here we are, we're talking about in the House of Commons a scurvy outbreak up north in Saskatchewan, I believe it is,
I
Yeah,
heard.
that's true. Yeah.
due to a lack of fruits and vegetables. Like
Mhm.
this is instead of actually solving a problem, they threw another band-aid on it with another pink unicorn.
Like the one behind me.
That
Yeah.
one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just popping up everywhere these days. They
They
just
are.
unicorns. They're
Yeah.
alive and well. I mean, in the
Well, it seems to me the only way that Trudeau can get self-affirmation is to if he cloned himself or something. So he must be walking around with a bunch of clones of himself somewhere, because I mean, I don't know, like where else is he getting people saying, "Oh, this is a great idea, Justin.
I
Great
don't know.
idea."
Maybe he got the ideas while he was at the Taylor Swift concert.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
That's true.
I mean, I'll reserve a lot of comments I'd like to say, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just when it comes to solving problems, we find once again that the most vulnerable are excluded. The veterans are still asking for too much, apparently, and we're going like, whatever happened to common sense within our country,
Mhm.
Well, Mr. Trudeau was handing out bracelets, one for you, one for you, one for you. But it's like handing out $250 checks. One for you, oh, none for you, none for you.
Yeah.
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 I just don't know what to say about that. I really don't.
Now, yeah,
Yeah.
and again, I don't know if I've repeated myself or not, but uh, on today's thumbnail, I have Oprah Winfrey, and anybody that remembers Oprah Winfrey from, it was either late 80s or early 90s when she had her favorite things episode. And the first one she did was around Christmas time, and it was like she gave everybody a car in the audience. She gave everybody a free car. She's like, and you get a car, and you get a free car, and you get a free car. And it's kind of like, that Justin is kind of doing the same thing, Justin Trudeau. He's
Yeah.
like, you get 250, and you get 250, and you get 250, except if you have a disability or if you're a senior. No, sorry.
Yeah, none for
Then
you.
he
Too
turns
bad.
then he turns into the soup Nazi on Seinfeld.
That's right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No
No
money
soup
for
for
you.
you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no
like,
check for you.
it's like, next, please. Well, I just want my 250. No, you come back another year. We'll see.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the problem that we have, is this selectivism within our governments.
Divide.
And divide and conquer. It
Yeah.
works great. Dividing your population against one another is a thing that seems to be working quite well with many people and political ideologies. And there's those of us that get it, that hey, we can't sit here and be divided no matter who we are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Another word for selectivism is discrimination.
Yeah.
Very true.
But don't call it that, though. Don't call it that.
Here's another scenario too, MJ. Of course, in the viewers wondering about elections, right? In BC, we just recently had our provincial, BC election. We had a quite a strong majority government before with the BC NDP, and now they have a very slim, major razor slim majority government. In the platform, in the BC NDP's platform. Well, I was looking very carefully. We were combing through it. Neil and I did a show about this, and we really dived into it. And so we combed through this, and there was only a reference of an increase, maybe, for the CDB, but the BC government's going to wait till July for the CDB to be launched out. And as we all know, the CDB is completely bungled up so bad that a 2-year-old could probably write a regulation better than what the federal government has done with it. So the provincial government's waiting. They're waiting on the federal government's CDB version rather than taking care of their own citizens. So people with disabilities, in BC are now saying, okay, so there was nothing in the BC budget in February of 2024.
Yeah.
But wait till next year of July of 2025, because the federal government's going to come out with their version. Now, is there going to be anything in the BC budget in 2025? I don't think there will be.
You know what, Brent? You don't know that I'm going to go down this rabbit hole, but I will, because you got attacked on Twitter a day or two ago from somebody that we all kind of know and love. A guy that really likes food banks, and let's have the record straight. For somebody that loves food banks, that's fair. There are some really good food banks, and so for this person who is he in Toronto somewhere? It's somewhere in Ontario, right? And so for that person that loves his food bank, great. Hats off to you. But we all know that the majority of food banks actually aren't that great, right? And the fact of the matter is food banks are an excuse. It basically props up government failure, basically, right? Because our provincial governments are supposed to, they're mandated their provincial mandate is to look after the most vulnerable in the province. That's their mandate. They have a sworn, they put their hand on the Bible. They have a sworn duty. I will look after the most vulnerable in the province. Hand on Bible, sworn duty to do so. And yet we have these food banks that allow governments to make up excuses and say, well, now we don't have to support you because the food banks will do it.
Well, and here's another problem when it comes to a lot of these food banks, is they're getting near expired food or close to being expired food or expired food, right?
Yeah.
And then they are expected to go and hand this out and get it out as quickly as possible. And you know, it would behoove us as a society to give the people that are vulnerable enough money to be able to go to the store and buy fresh produce.
And pick your
Fresh-
own food. Pick your own
Exactly.
food.
Yep.
Like
And
God forbid you get your choice to pick your own food.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
I worry about
Wow.
get food poisoning, possibly at a food,
Yeah.
because I remember. Oh, this is going back down our time machine that we talk about on the show. I love using the word time machine because I love the show Back to the Future, and what I literally love the show Back to the Future. So I always remember that when the second episode was my ultimate favorite one, by the way. By why? Because BC and all of Canada reminds me of Biff's World. It's been changed completely upside down. And so when I say go back in our time machine, there was a neighbor I had where I lived at one point in time, and had gone to the food bank and said, "Well, did you want to ride to the food bank?" And I said, "No, I'm going down there another day." And okay, well, they came back, and I hadn't seen my neighbor for a while, and I was like, "Oh, I'll check in on my neighbor." So I knocked on the door, and our caretaker was going by and said, "Oh, are you looking for Mrs. Smith?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Mrs. Smith is actually in the hospital, Brent." "What?" "Yeah, she got food poisoning." I go, "How?" "From the food bank, because it was expired food, and it was actually slimy. Apparently, the stuff was slimy. She had washed it off with water and figured that maybe it was just the package. It was a condensation. No, it was really bad food." So when it comes to about the food banks, I still stand by that if people are given the proper means to buy their own food, buy their own nutritional supplements that they need, perfect. Because food banks, I my mom would be
They would
over in her grave right now, and she'd be saying, "Thank you, Brent. Thank you for saying this," because she actually fought in the World War II, not on the front lines, but she was a member in the World War II, and
Yeah.
she told me stories about the food banks, and it used to be just soup kitchens, and then after the World War, food banks slowly, independent ones slowly started coming in. Now it's like a staple, apparently.
Yeah, like food banks and soup kitchens were supposed to be just a
Yeah, that's what she
temporary
said.
solution thing.
Yeah,
And that's my number one complaint about food banks is like it's great if you have a good one. You know, I know a lot of churches
hmm
do a lot of community kitchens too, and that's great too.
oh yeah, they do.
But
I
the fact, like I said, the fact of the matter is, you know, for every food bank that's out there, it means that you're basically giving provincial governments the excuse to say, "Oh, good, now we don't have to support people with
yeah,
disabilities.
yeah.
Now we don't have to do our sworn duty, hand on Bible. We don't have to do our sworn duty
well,
of protecting the most vulnerable."
hmm
and that's the thing is, it goes back to what I said. I think about the 3 programs ago that I was in, and I said, maybe it's come to this point where these people have just stopped representing the people, that we, the people, need to start coming together and say, you know what, enough is enough with your political nonsense. We're going to go and do this. We're making a new thing, and enough is enough. I mean, $2,000 right now is not even enough to go and find an apartment in most places,
Oh, exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And this is because of our government handing money over to foreign entities hand over fist You know, and these billions of dollars could have been used to go and help the vulnerable. They could have been used to go and build the housing instead of helping Ukraine and every other country and commissioning a stupid study on gender studies in the military or something that had no value whatsoever other than to prop up your agenda. You know, we have these people that have co-opted our government for their own self-interest. And this is what's really happened. Trudeau is not doing this for helping anyone. This has nothing to do with helping us or helping anyone else. It has to do with making himself look good.
It helps
That's
the pink. It helps the pink unicorns. That's what it helps.
It's just about making himself look good. You know, and that's the saddest part. Is he's a narcissist.
Well,
all the pink unicorns are flourishing, though.
Especially when you had unlimited amount of migrants and asylum seekers coming into Canada. I mean, you're looking at BC's been getting about 150,000 of new immigrants every year, and it's beyond our capacity. We can't handle it. I mean, I think that number is even higher than that, way higher.
I'm of the opinion that, you know what, we're at this point where it'd be cheaper for us to pay them to go back home. Nothing personal, but Canada cannot handle the immigration. It's time to close the temporary foreign worker program. It's time to close this whole idea of Canada is a great place to be a refugee state and run to. Most of these people are being processed and then being sent home anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So why don't we just say, I'm sorry, no. We're opting out of this whole refugee thing because we just can't do it.
Well, and Trudeau basically basically did, he says, "Whoops, my bad." You know, I'll readjust the immigration numbers now. My bad, sorry.
Yeah, 5% for next year. I won't do that again. But the part that really boils me is people at PWD are suffering so bad in every single province. Some provinces don't even have a PWD designation, but they should. But the immigrants coming in and asylum seekers, I mean, I understand there's a lot of people that are coming in from other countries that are, they're escaping war-ravaged countries. I get that, and that's fine. But other countries that are not going through that, they should not just come up here unlimited. So they're getting more money than PWD are. I mean, there's a problem where the government's not taking care of their own citizens, but they're taking care of the other ones, no problem. Like triple the amount per month.
Was it you, Brent, or was it Neil that was sharing with me the money that they get for hotels?
That might have been Neil.
Last week.
Yeah, it would have been Neil.
I don't think it was me,
or maybe it was. Maybe it was me.
Yeah, because I fell asleep in the middle of the conversation. That's why I remember.
Oh no, that would. Yeah.
We were sitting here talking, and I fell asleep. I was like, basically
information though, very. Oof.
But these people are getting up to $200 to $300 a day per person, to $500 a day.
That's
per
right.
person
Yeah.
For being a refugee here. Many of these, and the people that came across Roxham Road and came from the United States, I hate to break it to you, just because you don't like Trump doesn't mean the country isn't safe. We have a safe third-party agreement. They landed in America. They have to be processed in America. They can't come here. And unfortunately, we don't have a government that's willing to go and put their foot down and say, no, you're being turned back and you're going home, and being sent, and being walked back across to processing with the U.S. I mean, that's the thing is a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to Canada, we have had, since 2015, years of bad economic policies that have destroyed our economic growth. We've had policies of climate change nonsense that have exacerbated the price of living and people don't realize how bad this carbon tax truly is. It's the levels of taxes on everything has driven up the cost of celery by $1.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Right.
It's everything's up way up there.
right? And this is where this carbon tax keeps going and going and raising the prices because the trucks that deliver our food to the grocery stores are not carbon tax exempt. They're paying the tax.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fact. So wherever it goes from the grower, from the farm to the distributor to the packager to the redistributor, and then finally to the grocery store and finally to us, you take a look at how much carbon tax that is, and you'd be surprised at the
Yep.
cost
Yeah.
of what it is.
Yeah, it adds up. It's a whole domino effect. It starts out here, and by the time it gets to the end consumer, you're paying about 5-6 times the amount, or even more in some cases, than what it first started at. The end consumer is the end result, and the end result is that we are paying the consequences for government's inaction of dealing with elimination of all these extra taxes that we all pay. I mean, it can easily be done. Because government says, "Oh, well, it costs more money to print more money." Well, you know what?
Well, I know.
Reduce the taxes then.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people were initially very concerned about a conservative government for, federally.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you look, I mean, it's just the amount of errors that Trudeau has done. I mean, it's a laundry list.
Errors.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
We'll
I'm
air
being,
quote that.
Like a book on it.
I'm being very generous to saying it's errors, but yeah. But I mean, the amount of just mistakes that he's done is just, I mean, it really is inexcusable. So, I mean, there is absolutely no way that, a conservative government could do any worse than what Trudeau has done. He has basically flushed Canada down the toilet in so many ways. You know,
Well, we have, a lot of this started years ago. I mean, when they started going after the fishing off the East Coast in Newfoundland, they started destroying industries across this country, a piece at a time. Uh, this is what's really been going on with our country. We have vast levels of resources that we could be, exploiting. People would be making $200,000 to $300,000 a year at some of these jobs out there in the mining industry. You know, 50 to 80 to whatever it is. These people get paid very good money. And that is where taxes get generated, is when people are paying or earning good money. But when you have governments that sequentially over a period of 20 years destroy that base of high paying jobs, they started with the lumber industry. They started, in BC. I mean, we used to have a great lumber industry, and then we actually had cabinetry. We had a lot of other things that were derivatives of the lumber industry. All of those have gone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So these were good paying jobs back in the day, but even still today, when you have these governments that do these things, it makes you wonder, are they all working to destroy this country for their own ends? What are they really doing here?
Yeah,
Makes me wonder.
on that one, because I know in different cities, in different in each province, they call it the living wage. Now in Vancouver, it's $27.05 an hour. For a living wage, each city is different. Victoria is getting up there. I think it's like 26 something. It's right behind Vancouver anyway, and it's ridiculous. Now the reason why is because the cost of housing, they say, has ballooned up so high. Why? Because the government hasn't kept up with the amount of housing. It's also all the bureaucratic red tape that's involved in all the housing, rezoning, and this and that, all the taxes, and of course the end consumer gets to pay the actual high cost of housing. Now, in order to reduce that down, they got to lower down the cost of that living wage down. Otherwise, it's going to keep going up and up, and that's going to get passed on into the restaurant industry. I mean, who's going to pay $30 for a friggin' burger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you remember, at the beginning of the Running Man, the bottle of or can of Pepsi was what, $8?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, so
love that one.
So when it comes to all of these things, it makes me wonder why they do them the way they do them. And obviously they're trying to buy votes, and they're trying to placate, and they're trying to play their games. And I think that, in my opinion, because I spend a lot of time talking to people on Spaces on X, And a lot of people have all basically come to the conclusion that, we're all tired of this. We're tired of this being played on us. And
Yeah.
everyone's looking at, any of the current parties a solution? I mean, I was in a space this morning where people say, you know what? We just need a leader to come up and say, hey, I've got solutions.
Well, and talking about that, MJ, I mean, we're all from BC here, so let's end the podcast talking about BC for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's that. I mean, we have David Eby here. I mean, if you take David Eby and Justin Trudeau, I mean, they're like peas in a pod, right? They operate very much the same way. Um, you know, much has been said about the fact that David Eby basically paid off all of his MLAs with extra bonuses because he's scared, that they're all gonna cross the floor.
Was it
You know,
$18,000? I believe it is up to $60,000
yeah, it's just crazy.
on salary. 190.
I mean, here's a premier that's running scared already. So he feels he has to like pay all his MLAs off. Like, please don't cross the floor.
But
You know,
on
and it's just like,
that
wow.
on that little part there, I'll quickly put a little insert into there. Is that $18,000? That's more than one whole year of a PWD check.
Yeah, yeah.
That's per, yeah. So I mean, just to kind of put that into perspective.
Now, is that out of taxpayers' money?
Yes.
Taxpayers, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, one of the things I've always been looking at is how to make this country better and how to solve problems. And I really think that when it comes to the salaries of government employee or elected government officials, that should be really up to the people. We should be the ones determining what they're being paid. Because frankly, with them paying, determining what they're being paid, they can go and say, yeah, we all get $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no ceiling apparently. They haven't put a ceiling on
I know.
If you look, there's no ceiling on what they can give themselves.
I think we should all be voting on that, saying, did we
Yeah.
vote for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my gosh, I mean, some newly elected MLAs who, are not, they don't know anything about their, of course, the file that they're going to be working with yet. Why? Because there's no mandate letters. Not until the new year sometime.
Yeah.
But hey, let's give them $18,000 to start with on top, and some are even higher. And parliamentary secretaries, they got, I mean, every single 47 of them all got a huge bonus. Yeah. So,
I mean, and let's remember this is from a premier that won a majority by 1 seat.
Now, here's the thing.
So you think he'd be more conservative on what he's going to do, but he's just like handing money out like hand over fist.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you got PWD having to choose between meals and paying bills and paying rent, or living in Canada.
Yeah.
Didn't Sonia Fresno say, don't look to us to go and fill your speaker role?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's going to be even across the aisle.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah.
Because the Conservatives aren't going to go and put somebody up.
No, they're not. They've already said they're not going to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that means the deputy speaker will also have to be from the NDP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which means that's 2 people.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
yes.
Right. So that takes
5 votes.
And here's the thing is are the Greens going to continue to support the NDP in the light of this financial debauchery is really what it is.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I used to be a member of the Green Party back in the day, not BC, but federally. But they were, back in the day, they were always about the financial austerity and doing things that make sense for the environment. And to me, I sit here and I wonder, is the leadership going to go and take a serious look at this, and the Greens go, no, we can't support this. We cannot support this type of opulence and bribing your people to keep them in your party. I mean,
it's not a good look. It's not a good look at all.
No, it's not. And it makes me wonder where the Greens are going to sit on this, because this is a big thing for a lot of people that are very environmentally conscious. They don't like to see governments wasting money. on things that don't make sense for the environment.
I know in the Green Party and the MJ, there was something in the platform. What was it now? $2,400 that the Green Party wanted to give for persons with disabilities. Now that's kind of a still standing offer.
Yeah, per month. Per month.
Yeah, per month. Now, since now the NDP got a razor thin majority, technically, I guess they don't need the Green Party. So I'm wondering, is that now since the Green Party and the Conservatives do not want to put up one of their members to be a speaker, it's now on the NDP to now use their other speaker they had in before. And I heard on the news this morning that Raj Kohan is going to be the speaker, but they're waiting until February when they come back, because they're going to take a little leave until then, come out with the throne speech, and then they're going to come out, I guess, with the budget. Now, I heard that was going to be in February also. One of the members from the Conservative Party had put on the social media the other day and said, "Oh, I would probably think it probably April for the budget." Well, it was confirmed this morning on a talk show that it would probably be in February, the budget.
Okay.
Okay, so that's kind of a conflict there, because the finance minister for the Conservative Party, right, they call it the critic, had said, "Oh, it'll probably be in April." Well, of course, they're going to say that, right? I mean, that's what their job is to,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, but here's the thing: is the first order of duty before the throne speech happens is to appoint a speaker. That takes one person away, just one, right? And that's an important role, because according to the rules of governance, of how our system works, you cannot go and even have the throne speech without the speaker.
Right.
So
that's right.
The first order of business is the speaker. Then the second order that the speaker does is find a deputy speaker.
Yes.
Right. So that's going to have to come from the NDP. The Conservatives have bowed out, and the Greens are telling them to go take a hike as well. So now here's the question of problems that we face is, and this might not be probable. I mean, the Greens might support the throne speech, but then again, you never know.
One of the
if there's a failure, sorry, I don't even interrupt.
Yeah, sorry.
If there's a failure at the throne speech, we're back to the polls.
Yeah. I was going to say, one of the biggest commentaries that I've been hearing over and over and over again is what comparing and contrasting John Horgan's style of governance versus David Eby's. And the biggest difference is that David Eby has centralized all his government. Like, it's basically me, myself, and I. He centralized everything under him, and basically only him. Whereas, John Horgan was very good at delegating. He would, during COVID example, it was a very good example where he would delegate to the ministers and say, "You do this. I don't have to be a photo op for everything. You go do it." Whereas Eby's the total other way around. He's like, "I have to do everything. I have to be in control of everything." And all of his own people are saying, according to inside sources, they're saying, like, please start delegating and decentralize. And he's like, "No, I don't want to do it."
One thing I noticed between the two premiers, John Horgan, I mean, he was the dad. He was people's dad, right?
Premier dad, yeah.
Premier dad. Yeah, and, him and I got into a few discussions, and he said to me his famous line, and I thought I was joking with him, and then all of a sudden he was serious. I thought he was joking. He was serious, and he says, "Oh, come on, Brent, come on." I'm like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "Oh," he goes, "You think I'm joking, right?" I'm like, "No, you are." He goes, "No, I'm not." And I told him, like I said, like I would post out something and they'd go like, well, the other party, I'd say, well, the Liberal Party's doing this for so many years, and this government, he says, don't do that. Don't play one premier against the other one, like back and forth. And I said, and I was just starting on my advocacy, right? And he goes, "No, like don't." He says, because it's called dividing. It's called dividing the population against the population of disabled. And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "You're going to learn as you go on that we need to work together as a team, right? Be a team player. If you're not part of the team, then hey, you know what? There's the door. He says, I go, and I'll even open the door for you. I go, no problem, sir. No problem. I'm sorry. Well, no. Don't say you're sorry. Just say I made a mistake. I moved forward. I learned from that, and he taught me a lot of things. MJ, yeah, he taught me to stand up and just stand up for myself, advocate the best way you can. Your strengths are. He said you're the 375 guy. I said no, I'm also the bus pass guy. He goes, and I promise I will keep fighting to get that restored. If I can't, I need you to keep at that. And it was the little key thing that he said, if I can't. And I think he knew there was something going on in his life at the time. And he said he would keep fighting about raising the rates. He says, I'm the only person at the table. I go, what do you mean I'm the only person at the table? And he's like, well, he said, there's other people, but I'm the one that's going to keep advocating. And so he told Sonia and myself about that. And we sat on information for quite some time that we were told by John, you can't say anything. Promise me. And we said, okay, he said, no, I need your word. Yeah. You're like, yeah, no, I need to hear the word. I promise. And his son goes, I promise. Brent, I need to hear from you too. I promise. And so it was about supplements and a $300 supplement. And he said, going forward, I will advocate about getting the full thing restored. He goes, on a personal level, I want to see it restored back to its COVID state, but I also want to see that $300 additional added on to you guys going forward. I'm like, oh my gosh, that would change things so much for people. Well, it would. He goes, but you should remember, I'm the only person at the table. I can advocate and try to push the government, but and I said, well, so there's other people's viewpoints. Yeah, he says, I can't get into that with you. And then he couldn't because he says, I can't get in the reasons why, but I keep his legacy going forward. And that's why I keep pushing, holding the governments to account and saying like you need to listen to PWD's lived experience stories. I mean, we all can't be all ableist, like living in a bubble and saying, hey, like, doesn't affect my life. It can, disabilities can affect anybody's life at any time. I mean,
we're not all Justin Trudeau.
Right. I mean, person could be on the job and they
well,
themselves, right? I mean, or you're born that way, or you get more disabilities as you go on. And I mean, they're just protected because they have pensions, right? And if you don't have a pension, you're not protected. No.
And this is, why I've been, I was, you can see the logo behind me, universally available basic income. I've been working on this. I've been working on this idea and I haven't even gotten to the website because trying to refine this idea and trying to figure out how to put it together. Because, what I'm doing here is I'm drawing on the idea of replacing a good portion of the benefit programs. Changing the way things are done. And the scary part is when I start doing math, and the math of how many people's lives will be affected permanently by the loss of their job. That's a government job.
Yep.
And when we take a look at this, we start getting to staggering numbers. And it's no longer a joke about what happens if we do this. It's a joke. It's not even a joke. It's a serious matter of what are we doing to help these people transition out of this role and into something else in the private sector, or to rebuild their lives to become self-employed or something. Because when you're talking, 10,000 people, that's nothing. But when you're talking about 500,000 people in this country spread across 13 jurisdictions, or 1 million people or more, now you're talking about serious damage to the economy. When you're talking about replacing a benefit program or multiple benefit programs across 14 jurisdictions into one, that is a big number, and you have to take a lot of consideration of how to set this up and how to do it. And when I realized what I'm talking about is going to affect could be up to 1 million people's lives in this country. And that doesn't include their children or relatives or anything like that. We're just talking about direct employment. Right? When we're talking about that, that is not something you can just flippantly say, yeah, let's do. Right?
Well, and again, that's a really great point, MJ, because that is a narrative that's been shared a lot too. I've noticed is people say, I mean, it's a choice, right? To have a very fat government of a lot of employees or FTEs. You know, like again, we can use David Eby as an example. Like, look how fat the government is, and look at all the salaries he's handing out.
Very bloated.
Again, that's a choice, and it's like, so the narrative is, do you want an economy that's run that's basically propped up by government workers only? Do you want a economy that's primarily run by actually government workers, or do you want a more of a resource-based economy of, you know, natural resources and you know, people doing the 9 to 5 job it's not just the you know, the government employees union that's propping up all of our biggest paying jobs, you know?
You know,
Well, and that kind of reminds me of like the transit service, right? From Cowichan over to Victoria. It's like it was basically made as a commuter service. It was once upon a time like almost like a 9 to 5 kind of deal, right? No, like that narrative. Nobody does these kind of shifts anymore. Of course, it's catered to government employees mainly, right? So
Hmm.
it has to change.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things in society that they have to get off that narrative and start going back to the grassroots. And I think if I had the crystal ball, I think things are going to change going forward. I really do. I just have that inkling that it's not going to get pretty. It's going to get worse.
Spidey sense.
Especially
Spidey
Well,
sense.
as of April 1st, everyone, April 1st next
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
carbon
well,
tax, boom, up there.
exactly. The carbon tax goes up again, and the cost of groceries goes up, the cost of living goes up, the cost of everything goes up.
And government
And
the wages go up too.
exactly, except for all of us on PWD and
Nope.
Canada Pension and veterans
No check
benefits.
for you.
Yep,
You
yep.
know, I mean,
No bonus for you.
you know, and I sit here and as people say, well, how much would you talk about for like UABI? Well, unfortunately, because of the current environment, we've allowed foreigners to come in and buy every single home possible. We've allowed corporations to come in and buy everything.
Mm-hmm.
We have allowed we've created this green building code, which has now made it required. So instead of a 6-inch wall, you need a 12-inch wall, but full of insulation, and you need conduit for all your wiring. You need all of these new things that all
Mhm.
have to be put in, which add more money to building a home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when you take a look at what our governments are doing, the question behooves us to ask, are they working for us or against us?
Yeah.
It would cost more than $250.
You know what? We're over time here,
Yeah.
Brent. We should clock
Well,
out.
no, we're actually right on time for the hour because we started late.
Yeah, they're 2 minutes late. Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay.
All right. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our show today. Yeah, we piled in about $250 PWD, you know, going to be excluded. People with, you know, well, seniors, fixed incomes. Yeah, but hey, if you're making $150,000, what's 250 for you, right? I mean, what are you going to go buy a bag of diapers or something? I don't know. I mean, maybe put some gas into your Ferrari or something. I don't know. I mean, you know,
But
nobody.
hey, we can all buy video game consoles.
Right. You know, I'm joking around when it comes to, you know, what people could use the money for. But what I'm not joking about is our society includes all inclusive, includes people with disabilities, seniors, people on like fixed incomes, any kind of fixed incomes. I mean, you live at a home, you're a single mother, single father. I mean, maybe you worked all your life and all of a sudden you became unemployed. You're on EI. You don't qualify. You do not qualify for that $250. Really, like I think that has to be revisited and changed. Yeah, but vote counting, yeah, vote buying, sure, why not? Let's just try to milk it, right? I mean, yeah. Anyway, I could rant and rave. All that just makes me so mad. But you know, you've got the opportunity, fix it. Just like the CDB, fix it. It's long overdue. And retroactive back. Listen to Mike Morris, right, and all the MPs that are pushing on that one, and listen to people with lived experience. That's what it's all about. That's us and everybody else
Yeah.
across the country. You can become disabled at any point in time in your life.
Mhm.
Don't think that you won't, because you will, or you're not diagnosed with a disability. Yeah. So
And
thank you.
Mr. Trudeau, we want our $250, please. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
And we want the CDB ASAP, because we don't want the provincial government BC having to make us wait until July of next year. You can get the money out soon,
Yay.
right? It's like, thanks
Yeah.
everyone.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone.
Thanks.